Hey Reddit, you're not going to believe what I uncovered about my own mother just a few weeks ago. I was helping her clean out her attic when I stumbled across a locked box filled with old letters and photos that revealed a past she's kept hidden from me my entire life. A past so shocking it made me question who she really is. My mom, the woman who raised me single-handedly, who worked herself to the bone to give me a good life, has been carrying a secret so heavy it's changed how I see everything. Stick around for this story, because it's full of heartbreak, love, and a truth I never saw coming. I'm still reeling from it, and I need your help to figure out what to do next. I'm just an average guy, 32 years old, living in a small coastal town in Oregon called Newport. I work as a graphic designer, mostly from home, which gives me way too much time to overthink things, like the mystery of my mom's life before I was born. Growing up, it was always just the two of us. My dad was never in the picture, and mom never talked about him or her past. All I knew was that she was the strongest person I'd ever met, someone who worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, who stayed up late helping me with school projects, and who always had a smile even when I could tell she was exhausted. She was my rock, my hero. But now, after what I found in that attic, I'm starting to wonder if I ever really knew her at all. Newport is one of those sleepy little towns on the Oregon coast where the air always smells like salt and pine, and the sound of the ocean is a constant backdrop to your life. It's a place of gray skies and misty mornings, where the waves crash against jagged cliffs and the harbor is dotted with fishing boats bobbing in the tide. I've lived here my whole life, in a small community where everyone knows everyone, and the biggest excitement is the annual seafood and wine festival. My apartment is a tiny one-bedroom just a few blocks from the beach, with windows that rattle in the wind and a view of the Pacific that's both beautiful and haunting on stormy days. It's a quiet life, one I've built around routine, working on design projects for clients, grabbing coffee at the local diner, and checking in on mom every day. Mom's house, where I grew up, is on the edge of town, a weathered little bungalow with peeling blue paint and a sagging porch that overlooks the sea. It's the kind of place that looks like it's seen better days, but to me, it's always been home. The inside is cluttered with memories. Old furniture she's had since I was a kid, faded curtains she sewed herself, and shelves packed with knickknacks from thrift stores. Growing up, I'd spend hours on that porch, listening to the gulls cry overhead while mom hummed in the kitchen, making dinner after a long shift. Newport isn't much, but it's ours, a safe little bubble where nothing bad ever seemed to happen. At least, that's what I thought until a few weeks ago. It all started on a dreary Saturday afternoon when I was over at mom's place helping her clean out her attic. She's in her late 60s now, with silver streaks in her hair and a slight limp from years of hard work, and she's been talking about downsizing for a while. The attic was a mess, a cramped space under the slanted roof that smelled like mildew and dust, packed with boxes of stuff I hadn't seen in years. There were my old toys, plastic dinosaurs, and a beat-up remote control car I got for Christmas when I was 8. There were stacks of my high school yearbooks, their pages yellowed at the edges, and faded Christmas cards from neighbors we hadn't spoken to in a decade. I was sorting through it all, sneezing from the dust, when I noticed a small metal box tucked behind a broken lamp in the corner. It looked out of place, deliberate, like someone had hidden it there on purpose. It was locked with a tiny padlock, rusted from years of neglect, and my curiosity got the better of me. I know I shouldn't have pried. It wasn't my business, and mom's always been private about her things. But something about the way it was hidden made my stomach twist with unease. I waited until she was out at her weekly book club meeting at the library to grab a paperclip from her desk and pick the lock. My hands were shaking as I worked at it, the sound of the ocean crashing in the distance through the attic's tiny window. I half expected to find nothing but old receipts or maybe some cheap jewelry she'd forgotten about. Instead, when the lock finally clicked open, I found a bundle of letters tied with a frayed red ribbon, along with a few grainy black and white photos that looked like they'd been handled 1,000 times. The letters were addressed to someone named Clara, a name I'd never heard mom mention before. I figured it might be a friend or a distant relative, someone from a life she didn't talk about. But the photos stopped me cold. One showed a young woman who looked exactly like my mom, maybe in her early 20s, standing next to a man I didn't recognize. She had the same sharp cheekbones, the same gentle curve of her smile, but there was something haunted in her eyes, a sadness I'd seen flickers of in my own childhood. The man beside her had a rugged face, with dark hair and a serious expression, his arm around her like he was protecting her from something. On the back of the photo, in faded ink, was written, Clara and James, 1978. My mom's name isn't Clara. My heart started pounding in my chest. Who was this woman, and why did my mom have her picture hidden away like this? I sat there on the dusty attic floor, the gray light filtering through the window, and started reading the letters. They were written by the man in the photo, James, and they painted a picture of a life I couldn't wrap my head around. He wrote about a small town in Nebraska, a place mom had never once mentioned, and a love story that seemed to end in tragedy. He talked about Clara running away from something, or someone, and how he was desperate to find her, to understand why she'd left without a word. The last letter, dated just a year before I was born, said he'd given up hope, but would always love her, no matter where she was. My mind was racing. Was my mom Clara? Had she changed her name, her entire identity, to escape something? And if so, what was she running from? The attic felt like it was closing in on me, the air thick with secrets I wasn't sure I wanted to uncover. As I sat there, surrounded by the ghosts of my mom's past, I felt a wave of emotions crash over me like the waves outside. I've always admired my mom for how she raised me. Growing up in Newport in the 90s and early 2000s, we didn't have much. She worked as a waitress at a diner near the harbor, where the smell of fried fish and coffee clung to her clothes when she came home. On top of that, she cleaned houses on the side, scrubbing floors and dusting shelves for families who had more than we ever did. I remember the nights she'd come home with sore feet and tired eyes, her hands rough from work, but she'd still sit with me at our wobbly kitchen table, helping me with math homework or just listening to me ramble about my day at school. She never complained, never let me see how hard it was. She made me feel safe, loved, like I was her whole world. And I've tried to live up to that, to be a good son, a good person, because of her. I can still picture the little moments that defined my childhood with her. There was the time when I was about 7, and I'd fallen off my bike, scraping my knee bad enough to draw blood. I was crying, embarrassed and in pain, but Mom scooped me up like I weighed nothing, carried me inside, and cleaned the wound with a gentleness I'll never forget. She told me, "Life's gonna knock you down sometimes, kiddo, but you've got to get back up. I'll always be here to help you." Then there were the Sunday mornings we'd walk along the beach together, the cold sand squishing between our toes as we collected seashells. The wind would whip through our hair, and she'd tell me made-up stories about mermaids and pirates, her voice soft against the roar of the ocean. I used to think she didn't talk about herself because she didn't have much to tell, that her life started when I was born. Now I realized she'd been hiding a whole other world from me, a world of pain and loss, and maybe even danger. Holding those letters in my hands, I felt betrayed. Why hadn't she told me any of this? Was her whole life with me built on a lie? I started thinking back to little things I'd noticed over the years. How she'd tense up when someone at the diner asked about her family. How she'd change the subject if I ever brought up my dad. I always thought she was just private, or maybe protecting me from something painful. But this felt bigger, darker. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been living half a life, only knowing half the story. And the worst part? I felt guilty for even being angry. After all, whatever she'd been through, she'd still managed to raise me into someone I'm proud to be. She sacrificed everything for me, her time, her energy, maybe even her past. How could I be mad at her for keeping secrets when those secrets might have been what kept us safe? I spent hours in that attic, lost in my thoughts, the gray Oregon sky darkening outside as a storm rolled in. The wind howled through the cracks in the walls, and I could hear the distant rumble of thunder over the ocean. My chest ached with a mix of love and resentment. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but I was terrified of what I might hear. What if the truth shattered the image I had of her? What if it shattered us? I thought about all the times she'd been there for me, like when I was a teenager, struggling with anxiety after being bullied at school. She'd sit with me on the couch, late into the night, just holding my hand and telling me I was stronger than I thought. She never judged me, never pushed me to talk if I wasn't ready. How could I push her now, when she'd given me so much? The deeper I dug into the letters, the more unsettling things got. One of the last ones mentioned a deal Clara had made to protect someone she loved. James wrote that he didn't understand why she'd done it, why she'd given up everything to disappear. But he respected her choice even if it broke his heart. My hands trembled as I read those words. A deal? With who? And for what? Then I found a small, folded note tucked inside the final letter, written in a different handwriting. My mom's handwriting. I'd recognize it anywhere from the birthday cards she's written me over the years. It was short, just a few lines. If you're reading this, I'm sorry. I did what I had to do to keep us safe. Don't look for him. Don't look for me. Burn these. My blood ran cold. Was this note meant for me? Or someone else? That's when it hit me like a punch to the gut. My mom hadn't just run away from a bad relationship or a tough life. She'd been hiding from someone dangerous, someone she was still afraid of, even decades later. And the us in the note, did that mean me? Was I the reason she'd changed her name, her entire identity? Had she been protecting me from something, or someone, all these years? My mind spiraled with possibilities. Was James my father? Was he the danger she was running from? Or was there someone else, someone worse? I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of questions with no answers in sight. I didn't sleep that night. I took the letters back to my apartment, a few blocks from Mom's house, and sat at my desk with them spread out in front of me. The ocean roared outside my window, a restless sound that matched the chaos in my head. Every creak of the building made me jump, like someone was coming for me, like the past was catching up. I kept picturing my mom as a young woman, scared and alone, making a choice no one should have to make. I wanted to be angry, to feel lied to, but all I could feel was this deep, aching sadness for her. Whatever she'd done it for me. But at what cost? What had she lost to give me the life I have now? I couldn't stop thinking about the note. Don't look for him. Who was him? And why was she so afraid that even now, after all these years, she wanted these letters burned? Over the next few days, I wrestled with what to do. Part of me wanted to confront Mom, to lay everything out on the table and demand the truth. I deserved to know who I really was, where I came from, didn't I? But another part of me was terrified of what that truth might be. What if she'd been running from someone who was still out there? Someone who could hurt us if they found out where we were? What if asking questions put her in danger all over again? I couldn't bear the thought of losing her, not after everything she'd done for me. She was my rock, my only family. But living with this secret, pretending I didn't know, felt like a betrayal of my own. I started noticing things about her I hadn't before. The way she'd glance out the window sometimes when we were having coffee together, like she was expecting someone to show up. The way she'd lock the door twice every night, even in our safe little town where crime is almost unheard of. Had she always been this cautious, or was I just seeing it now because of what I'd read? I remembered a specific moment from a few years ago, when I'd come over unannounced and found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at an old newspaper clipping with a faraway look in her eyes. When she saw me, she'd quickly folded it up and stuffed it into a drawer, laughing it off as just some old junk. I hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now it felt like a piece of the puzzle. What was in that clipping? Was it connected to Clara, to James, to whatever she was running from? I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, like the mom I knew was slipping away and being replaced by this stranger named Clara. But at the same time, I couldn't help but admire her even more. Whatever she'd been through, she'd come out the other side and build a life for us. She'd worked herself to the bone to make sure I grew up happy, safe, loved. How many people could do that after losing everything? How many could carry that kind of burden and still smile every day, still make silly pirate stories to entertain a kid on the beach? I thought about my own life, too. I've always tried to be a good person, to live with honesty and kindness, because that's what she taught me. I volunteer at the local community center on weekends, helping kids with art projects, teaching them to draw the ocean and the cliffs. I call Mom every day just to check in, to hear her voice and make sure she's okay. I've built a quiet, steady life here in Newport, surrounded by the crashing waves and the misty cliffs. But now I wondered if that life was built on a foundation of lies. Was I who I thought I was? Did I even have a right to be angry, when her secrets might have been the only thing standing between me and a much darker fate? I kept going back to the letters, rereading them late at night when I couldn't sleep. Each time, I noticed new details. James's handwriting getting shakier in the later letters, like he was losing hope. The way he described Clara as the light of my life. A phrase that made my heart ache because I could see my mom in those words, even if I didn't know her as Clara. I started imagining what her life must have been like before me, in that small Nebraska town James wrote about. Had she been happy there, before whatever happened forced her to run? Had she loved James the way he loved her? And what kind of deal could make someone give up everything, her name, her home, her past, to disappear? The more I thought about it, the more I felt like I was drowning in questions, the weight of them pressing down on me like the heavy fog that rolls in off the ocean some mornings. It's been a week since I found those letters, and I'm still no closer to knowing what to do. I haven't told Mom I found them. I can't bring myself to look her in the eye and ask if she's Clara, if she's been running from someone all these years, if I'm the reason she had to give up her life. Every time I see her, I feel this lump in my throat, this mix of love and fear and guilt. I want to protect her the way she's always protected me, but I also want the truth. I want to know who James was, what kind of deal she made, and whether the danger she ran from is still out there. But what if knowing puts us both at risk? What if the past is better left buried? I've been avoiding her house more than usual, making excuses about work deadlines, but I know she can tell something's off. Yesterday, she called me just to chat, and her voice sounded so normal, so warm, asking if I wanted to come over for dinner. I said I was busy, and I could hear the disappointment in her silence before she said, "Okay, kiddo, whenever you're ready." It broke my heart all over again. I'm sitting here in my apartment now, the sound of the ocean a constant hum outside my window, and I can't stop staring at the letters spread out on my desk. The dim light from my desk lamp casts shadows over the faded ink, making the words look even more fragile, like they could disappear if I look away for too long. I keep thinking about Mom's voice on the phone yesterday, so full of warmth and concern, and it's tearing me apart. How can I keep this from her? How can I pretend everything's fine when I'm carrying this secret, this weight of her past, on my shoulders? But at the same time, how can I confront her when I don't even know if I'm ready for the answers? What if the truth changes everything between us? What if it puts her, or even me, in danger after all these years? I've been walking along the Newport beach every evening since I found those letters, trying to clear my head. The sand feels cold under my feet, and the wind off the Pacific bites at my skin, but it's the only place I can think straight. I watch the waves crash against the rocks near Yaquina Head, the lighthouse beam cutting through the dusk like a warning, and I wonder what Mom was like before she came here. Before she became the woman I know. Was she Clara back then, full of dreams and hope in that small Nebraska town James wrote about? Did she laugh more, worry less, before whatever happened forced her to run? I picture her younger, with that haunted look I saw in the photo, standing on some dusty Midwest road, looking over her shoulder, always afraid. It's an image I can't shake, and it makes my chest ache with a sadness I don't know how to name. I've started noticing more things about my own life, too. Things I took for granted before. Like how mom never liked me traveling far from Newport, even when I got a job offer in Portland a few years back. She didn't outright say no, but she got this quiet, worried look and asked if I really needed to go so far. I stayed because I didn't want to leave her alone, but now I wonder if there was more to it. Was she afraid someone would find us if I left, if I started digging into our family history for a background check or something? And then there's the way she's always been so careful about photos. We have plenty of pictures of me growing up, school plays, birthdays, fishing trips off the pier, but almost none of her from before I was born. I used to think it was just because she didn't like being in front of the camera, but now I'm not so sure. Was she hiding her face, her identity, even from something as innocent as a family album? Last night, I had a dream about her. I was a kid again, maybe 10 years old, and we were walking along the beach like we used to on those Sunday mornings. The sky was gray, the kind of gray that promises rain, and the air smelled like salt and seaweed. She was holding my hand, her grip tight, and she kept looking behind us, like someone was following. In the dream, I asked her who she was looking for, and she just smiled, but it wasn't her real smile. It was forced, scared. She said, "No one, kiddo. Just keep walking." When I woke up, my heart was racing, and I couldn't get back to sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to the wind rattle my windows, and I felt this overwhelming need to protect her, the way she's always protected me. But how can I protect her from something I don't even understand? I've thought about burning the letters, like the note said to do. I even got as far as holding them over the sink with a lighter in my hand, the flame flickering close to the paper. But I couldn't do it. These letters, these pieces of her past, they're the only clue I have to who she really is, or was. If I destroy them, I might never know the truth. And as much as the truth scares me, the idea of living the rest of my life wondering scares me more. I've tucked them away in a drawer for now, hidden under a stack of old design sketches, but I know they're there. Every time I walk past that drawer, it's like they're calling to me, whispering questions I don't have answers for. I keep replaying the words from James's letters in my head, especially the ones about the deal she made. What kind of deal makes someone disappear completely, change their name, their whole life? Was it with him, or someone else? Was it about money, or something more dangerous? And the note she wrote, "Don't look for him. Don't look for me." It haunts me. Who is him? Is it James, or someone worse, someone she's still afraid of after all these decades? I've even thought about trying to track down James myself, to see if he's still alive, if he knows what happened to Clara. But every time I start to Google his name or look up that town in Nebraska, I stop myself. What if finding him brings the past crashing into our present? What if it's not just mom's life that's at stake, but mine too? I've been avoiding her more than I should. I know it's not fair, but every time I see her, I feel this mix of guilt and fear bubbling up inside me. Yesterday, I stopped by her house to drop off some groceries, and she was out on the porch, wrapped in a shawl, watching the ocean like she does sometimes. Her face looked so peaceful, but there was a sadness there too, a weight I've never really noticed until now. She smiled when she saw me, waved me over, and asked if I wanted to sit for a bit. I made up some excuse about a client call and left as quick as I could. I saw the hurt in her eyes as I walked away, and it felt like a knife in my gut. She doesn't deserve this, me pulling away, me keeping secrets of my own now. But I don't know how to face her without everything spilling out, without asking the questions that might break us. I've been thinking a lot about my own future, too. I've always wanted a family someday, kids of my own to take to the beach, to teach how to skip stones across the water like mom taught me. But now I wonder if I can even do that, knowing there might be something, or someone, from our past waiting to resurface. How do I build a life when I don't even know the foundation of my own? I've dated here and there, but nothing serious, mostly because I've always been so focused on work and taking care of mom as she's gotten older. Now, though, I feel this loneliness creeping in, this fear that I'll never really know who I am, or who I come from. It's like I'm stuck between two worlds, the safe, quiet life I've always known in Newport, and this shadowy past that's suddenly looming over everything. I guess that's why I'm telling you all this, why I'm putting it out there for strangers on the internet to hear. I need advice, or maybe just someone to tell me I'm not crazy for feeling this way. Should I confront my mom? Ask her about Clara, about James, about the deal she made? Should I keep digging on my own? Try to find out who she was before she came to Newport, even if it means risking everything? Or should I just let it go, burn the letters like she wanted, and pretend I never found them? I love my mom more than anything in the world. She's my hero, the person who gave me everything, even when she had nothing. But I can't shake the feeling that there's a whole other side to her, a side she's buried so deep it might destroy us if it comes to light. What would you do if you were me? How do you balance the need for truth with the need to protect the person you love most? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I'm honestly at a loss here. Thanks for listening to my story. I just hope I can figure out what comes next before it's too late.